it's a fictionalized account of this real life historical figure, Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. And in the play, we meet Juana. It travels back and forth in time, but we meet her toward the end of her life in the monastery. In Spanish, the word sor is like sister, so she's a nun. The priest that has been her mentor becomes furious with her because he is being investigated or persecuted by the Spanish Inquisition, pressured by the Spanish Inquisition to absolutely stop her writing, because now her writing is getting too far out into the world, and it doesn't have anything to do with God. In fact, some of her writing questions whether God actually exists because he lives in our imaginations. And they also deem a lot of her writing to be erotic, overly erotic and inappropriate. So they take away her books, they take away her writing materials, and finally, after they take everything away from her, and then at the end of the play, we see this moment, which we do know historically is true, that in her own blood, she wrote, "I will never write again," and she died shortly thereafter. So it's an amazing, amazing story. And in Mexico and most of Latin America, she's an icon, especially in regard to women's rights, to feminism, to literature. I think that audiences are going to respond to the sins of Sor Juana in a couple of ways. One, I think the majority of audiences, unless they're Mexican, are likely to not. I think they're going to respond by going, "My goodness, why didn't I know about this woman?" You know, she's on the 200 peso bill in Mexico. But outside of Mexico, certainly in the United States, I should say, most people don't have any idea who she is. And yet she was one of the first great writers of the Americas. Definitely one of the first great feminists of the Americas. And I think they're going to be very moved by her as a human being and by the love story in the play. It's tragic, but it's also very hopeful, because at the end you realize that even though she writes in her own blood, "I will never write again," and you get that that's the end. And I don't want to give it away, but Karen has written in an element at the very end that makes you realize that it's too late. You know, she was the pebble that got tossed into the pond, and even though her life ended way too early, she was only 40, 41 years old, that the ripples were already, emanating out. And that's the hope at the end of the play. I think that what is so great about working with Karen is that she is incredibly generous. She's a great collaborator, and we have an absolute trust and admiration for each other. So she isn't terribly possessive about what she writes. She trusts my views and my opinions, and vice versa. And she's very funny, she's wacky, she's really smart, but she has a great sense of humor and a beautiful sort of sense of poetic sense of lyricism in her prose. I think there's a big social component to the work that I like to do at the Goodman, and it has to do with not only developing new Latino audiences for the Goodman, but sharing and celebrating the really vast and diverse richness of Latino culture with all audiences. And the Goodman shares that belief and that vision and that need, and I appreciate that.